What's happening, Fourth and Inches podcast? Listen, you got Kevin Stevie P. What's going on, Kev?
What's going on, Stevie P? How you making out there?
I can't complain, man. We got a tasty game tonight. Uh,
Yeah, we do. Got my squad, the Eagles playing. Haven't looked good so far this season, so hopefully we bounce back tonight.
yeah, the G-men always seem to be a get it right game for the Eagles.
Yeah, but they give us problems. Last year, I know in the first game was the game that Elliott kicked a 62-yard field goal to win it,
yeah, yeah,
and the second game later in the season, they actually got up on us. I think Eli threw like 3 touchdown passes in the first half, and they got up on us. And actually, Nick Foles had to bring us back.
yeah,
So
yeah. I remember that game. So, guys, we are going to talk about the fantasy relevant players tonight. Guys that you're starting in your lineup. The first guy, I think, and the most I've gotten, the most questions about, I think is Alshon Jeffrey. How do you feel about Alshon Jeffrey tonight, Kev?
I mean, it's all about your options at wide receiver. I mean, right now, I don't think Alshon's a number 2 receiver yet. I think right now he's sort of in that flex spot, and you know, like I said, it all depends on your options. You know, if what was the question yesterday? It was Alshon versus
Demaryius Thomas.
Demarius Thomas. You know, for me, that was Alshon just because I think, I like, I think that the Eagles are going to have to put up points. As we'll talk, we'll break it down more on why I think that's going to happen or have to happen. So I think Alshon's in for a big game tonight. But yeah, it depends on your options. I mean, I would have him probably slated as probably a late number 2 receiver right now, or
Like a
early
flex
3.
option.
Yeah, probably a flex.
Yeah, I mean he's also the same thing for me, a flex option. Janoris Jenkins, we talked about a little bit last night, is going to probably be covering him tonight. He did a really good job. Who was it last week? He shut down.
Yeah. He did a good job on last week. It
was Funchess. He was on Funchess a lot last week, but the week before he was.
Yeah, it was
on,
the week before.
Yeah, I'm trying to think who he was on that he shut down. It was actually Hold on one second. Sorry about that, guys. My son just ran in here. But yeah, I'm trying to think who he shut down.
I'm looking it up right now.
Yeah, it was definitely a good receiver.
Yeah, I'll tell you in 2 seconds. Oh, it was Michael Thomas.
Michael Thomas, that's it. Yeah,
He
Michael
played
Thomas.
2 weeks ago.
Yeah, so what was it, 4 for 40 for Michael Thomas in that game? That's a really good receiver. So definitely a guy that can, really focus in on the number 1 guy on another team, and I wouldn't say take him out of the game completely, but give him some trouble. So definitely a number 3 guy for me. Let's get right into the Eagles running backs. So if you had to make that tough decision tonight, Kev, and try, let's say you got lucky enough on the waiver wire that you got, both Eagles receivers. You spent some money on or running backs. Yeah, I'm sorry. Eagles running backs. Which guy are you starting tonight? Are you starting both of them? Throwing both in your flex? What do you think?
For me, if I had to start one, I would go Clement. Just because I think they trust him more. He was on the roster last year on the Super Bowl and had a hell of a Super Bowl. I think they kind of, let him rest a little bit to get him ready for this Thursday night game as well. Smallwood has looked good, though, when given the opportunity this year, which I'm sure is making, surprising some of us Eagles fans. But if it was me, I would probably start Clement tonight just because I think he's going to be in line for more of the number 1 role as long as they don't have another running back.
I agree with that. For me, if I'm one of those people that has both guys or one or the other, Clement is definitely the guy that I would be starting tonight. Wendell Smallwood, also I would put in my flex if I had a choice between the 2 of them, it would be Clement. But if I had, both of them, I think, depending on who your other flexes are, to me they're both flex plays tonight. I think the one guy that we can agree on being a starter, no matter who he's playing, is Zach Ertz. And,
Absolutely.
Yeah, Zach Ertz is going to be in your starting lineup no matter what. I don't care. Honestly, he's matchup proof to me. It doesn't matter who they play. He's going to be a guy that you're getting in your lineup every single week, and you never question it.
Yep. What about Nelson Aguilar from the Eagles' perspective?
See, for me, I actually have Aguilar in 2 leagues, and I was contemplating in my one league. Let me bring it up actually, because it was actually a point of contention for me. I was sitting there going, I don't know what guy to start here, but it is okay. So it's Nelson Aguilar and Amari Cooper, or Tywan Taylor. Mm-hmm. So for me, I'm going to go Cooper this week because they're playing Seattle. They're going, across the world to play Seattle. And I just, those London games, I think I read a stat today that said out of the 13 games played in London since they've been doing it, 11 times it's gone over.
Okay.
And the over-under in that game is 48. So, just going from recent history, it sounds like that's going to be a higher scoring game than a 48. And, to me, that means I got to get the playmakers in my lineup. So I'm going to go with Cooper on that deal. But Aguilar is a guy that I think could have some catches in this game because, they're going to make sure they take away Alshon Jeffrey. So I could definitely see him 5 for 50, 6 for 60, 70, something like that. I could see that stat line.
Yeah, that's not a bad call. That was pretty much the stats I was thinking, like 6 for 70. The key is whether he gets into the end zone or not. So if you're basically in your situation, you're basically betting on Cooper getting into the end zone as opposed to Aguilar.
Exactly. Yeah, I feel, especially because the way I feel like. Okay, so these Thursday night games, the thing about these Thursday night games that I think a lot of people don't realize is teams don't have time to game plan, for these games because it's just too short a week, especially the Eagles. They played the Sunday night game. It's a quick turnaround to Thursday night. I feel like they're going to kind of use the same game plan that they used last week. And if you noticed last week, they started the game throwing the ball a lot. Against the Minnesota Vikings. So if that game plan goes into this week's game plan, I think definitely Aguilar is viable if you need him in your flex, but I don't know how.
You probably have better options than Nelson Aguilar right now.
Exactly. So let me see here. All right, so on the Giants side of the ball,
now Carson Wentz. Where would you put Carson Wentz as related to the other quarterbacks? I guess. At this point.
If I haven't done my rankings, but if I were going to rank him, he'd probably be outside of my top 12 this week, only because the quick turnaround. They're playing in New York. I think the over/under in this game is 41, so they don't expect it to be a high-scoring game. For me, I think this is going to be one of the lower scoring. If you remember when we were talking about last week, Kev, about the Thursday night games either being humongous blow-ups or just low scoring shit games, I have a feeling this has the ability to become a low scoring shit game.
I completely disagree.
Yeah,
I think this is going to be yes, and I guess we can get into the quarterback situation now for the Giants. If you're streaming quarterback, Eli's a great choice. Jim Schwartz's defense has just been terrorized by the Manning brothers over the course of their here. Last year, Eli threw for 400 yards in both games against the Eagles.
Yeah, he did.
Jim Schwartz doesn't blitz. The key to getting to Eli Manning, the key to Eli Manning is getting pressure. We all know what happens when you get pressure on Eli. You start seeing that face that we saw in Week 1 when the Cowboys kept hitting Eli. You see that face eventually come out. The problem is the Eagles' front four didn't do that last year, and Jim Schwartz does not blitz. Mm-hmm. So therefore, basically left with Eli back there just picking apart a defense that he knows how to read. He's good at reading defenses. The key is keeping him on his feet to do that. So, like I said, last year he just went off on the Eagles' defense in both games. Like I said, he had 400 yards passing, and I think that that could be a potential to happen tonight. And I think that the Eagles are going to have to throw a lot to keep up, honestly. Their defense does not look good. It looked worse than last year. And Eli was able to pick it apart last year. So, yeah, I disagree. I actually think this is going to be more toward the higher scoring Thursday night game.
So you're taking the over. All right, so the line actually moved from on Monday afternoon it was 42.5, and then today it is 45. So I guess a lot of people are betting the over in this game. For me, I just, I know Eli had really good games against the Eagles last year, but I just don't know. Especially coming off that letdown against Carolina, I just don't know how they're going to look tonight.
How they're going to bounce back, especially with all the drama with Odell and everything.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, I could definitely see it being a higher scoring game. I'm still going to say that it hits the under. I'm going to say it goes under 45. And maybe not a shit game, but I wouldn't say a game that's going to be like, ooh, amazing. But we'll see. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So for the Giants side of the ball, the Eagles defense. I'm playing both the defenses in this game. You know what I mean? Eli Manning is known to throw interceptions. The Eagle defense is super opportunistic. So for me, their pass defense has been terrible, but their rush defense has been amazing.
They're number one. They're number one against the rush.
Yeah, their rush
defense
can't run
on the Eagles.
Exactly. So they're
honestly, I mean, with Barkley, he hasn't really been running. It's been like pass reception after pass reception. He's running for 75, 80 yards, but they're just beating the crap out of Saquon, honestly. Like, they're using the crap out of him, man.
Yes, they are.
He's getting 30 touches every game. This is like Le'Veon Bell type status right here.
Yeah, it is. I agree.
Which is why, on yesterday's podcast, we kind of deemed him as an untradeable commodity right now because he's getting the ball so much. He's,
Yep. He just is. He's just touching the ball in every way you want your running back to touch the ball. He's catching it. He's running it. He's, they're trying to find ways to get this kid the ball. I mean, that pass from Odell, that was completely caught the defense off guard. They're using the kid in so many ways. You can't trade him right now. He's just way too good.
Exactly.
So on the Giants side of the ball, for me, Odell Beckham, obviously you're playing him every week. Barkley, obviously you're playing him every week. Kev already told you that he would definitely stream Eli tonight. I agree with that. I think Eli could have a good game. If you're a Matt Stafford owner who's on a bye, if you're
Drew Brees.
Yeah, Drew Brees on a bye. I could definitely see, starting those guys. No, you're starting Eli. The guys that I think we should talk about is Sterling Shepard. For me, Sterling Shepard is a start in this game. Like we said a minute ago, the Eagles' defense has had trouble stopping really anybody. I don't know if he has a big game, but I could definitely see like 5 for 70, and maybe he gets in the box for you.
Yeah, I like Sterling Shepard as a start this week as well. Like I said, I mean, I think it's just going to be points scored in this game. I think it's going to be an entertaining game. So, this is a game where I would the questionable guys, maybe the Nelson Aguilars even, like I would probably put in my lineup just because I feel like it's going to be high scoring.
I hear that. So, I'm trying to see if Everett is actually cleared to play in this game. They haven't come out with the inactives. If Everett is cleared in this game, do you recommend him as a streaming tight end, Kev?
You mean Rhett Ellison?
Ellison, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Rhett Ellison, that's what I meant. I'm
yeah.
reading this over
here. It's at this point, no, I would not, because the Eagles don't really get beat by tight ends. They had O.J. Howard go off on them, but it was a long catch. he had like a 75-yard catch. Other than that,
Yeah.
he really didn't do much. They just don't really get beat by tight ends. They got good. Malcolm Jenkins is out there, and he's basically, the watchdog for the tight end / running back, and he's one of the best in the league at doing that. So, I would probably not start Ellison.
No, I agree with that. There's just better streamers, honestly.
Yeah. Cameron Brate.
Yeah, Cameron Brate is, definitely one. Uzama, however you say his last name, is another one.
Yeah.
Miles Paul is a guy that I like this week. He saw 15 targets last week.
Yeah.
Nick Vanette. There's just a lot of guys that I would definitely do, over him this week. So I don't know. I don't know how. Honestly, you'd have to be in a really deep league. I'm talking, 18-teamer to consider him, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and I'm trying to think who else we could start in this game, and that's about it, guys. You know what I mean? The Giants defense. Okay, so this is I'm going to go back to the Giants defense because I was actually looking at their stats this year. So, the Giants defense right now is ranked 29th. They have 5 turnovers on the season. But they've just been letting up a lot of points. They've been letting up 14, 20, 22, 33, 27. Basically, their only good, low-scoring game, I guess you could say, was against the Jaguars. And they let up 14 points against the Jaguars. That was really their best game of the season. You know what I mean? So, I'm definitely not going to start them against Philly. I just, Carson Wentz doesn't really turn the ball over. He's not a big interception guy. He takes care of the ball pretty well. So, I just don't see them getting a turnover here. And if they're not getting turnovers, I just don't. They're not stacking the quarterback either. So, it's not a defense that I think I'm going to stream. I've heard a lot of fantasy guys saying that, go Giants defense tonight. And I just don't see it.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be start. I really probably wouldn't start. I may start Philly's defense just because they're opportunistic, but yeah, I'll reiterate. I think it's gonna be a high scoring game, and I'm not intending on starting either defense because I just think there's gonna be points scored.
Yeah, I hear that. I mean, I agree. Like, if you drafted the Eagles defense, they were probably a top. 4 defense? Would you say? Yeah, they were.
I mean, around where we live, yeah, they were number 2 right behind Jacksonville. So.
Yeah. So, if you have the Eagles defense, you're starting them. But the Giants defense is not a defense that I know too many people drafted. So, not a defense I'm going to get on. I've heard. I want to say maybe the ESPN guys or something I was listening to said Giants would be a good streaming option this week, and I really don't. I really like. There's no way I'm starting the Giants defense. All right, guys. So that is the Thursday night game. So as you guys can see on the show notes, we are going to also talk about real quick takeaways from this season. So Kev is going to give 3 takeaways, Kev, and then I'll give 3 takeaways.
We can alternate.
Okay, that works. We'll do just 3 takeaways of what we're seeing this season. So you want me to go first? You want to go first, Kev?
I'll go first.
All right.
I'll just go with the typical. The typical one is, I mean, these 3 takeaways, we are talking fantasy related, right?
Yes. Okay,
yep. We are a fantasy podcast. I just had to reiterate or make sure about that. But yeah. I mean, in your drafts, you wait on quarterback.
Yep.
I mean, it's proven true this year once again. The number 1 quarterback is a guy you probably could have got in the 12th round.
Yep.
And if not, Matt Ryan was a guy you got in the 9th round. He's been tearing it up. Stafford's been serviceable. Who are some other late round quarterbacks that have been really good? Andy Dalton has been pretty awesome. Good. Luck in some of these leagues you might have got in the later rounds. He's been serviceable. It's proven true once again that you go, got to wait on quarterback. Just get a middle of the line guy because the difference in point scoring is not going to be that significant. And yeah, I mean that's one takeaway that I will say that people are just going to ignore every year and still draft Aaron Rodgers in the second round. And
Yep.
those are going to be typically the teams that are looking for depth in other positions as they go through the season.
Exactly. So my number one was actually the exact same thing.
Oh shit!
Yeah, it was the exact same thing. Yeah, it was the exact same thing. You hear all the time guys telling you, wait on quarterback, wait on quarterback, wait on quarterback, and every year, people don't listen. They take guys, and like Deshaun Watson, number 2 quarterback off of in consensus quarterback rankings was the number 2 quarterback being taken in fantasy drafts, while Drew Brees is the number 8. So just in the top 10, I wrote this down because I thought it was funny, but your top 10 quarterbacks this year are Patrick Mahomes, Drew Brees, Matt Ryan, Jared Goff,
Goff's another one. Yep.
Jared Goff, Phillip Rivers, Kirk Cousins, Ben Roethlisberger, Deshaun Watson, Andrew Luck, and Aaron Rodgers. I'll round off your top 10. So Aaron Rodgers is your 10th highest scoring quarterback for the season. And you want to know who number 11 is? Ryan Fitzpatrick, who's not even a starting quarterback in the NFL right now. Andy Dalton is 12, Brady is 13. I'm not going to continue the list, but if that doesn't just prove to you that you don't need to take a quarterback in the first 2 rounds or first, 3, 4 rounds. Wait on your quarterback until round 5, 6, 7, 8. Even later. I mean, Mahomes was like a consensus, 12th round pick. If you look in most drafts, his ADP was like 127. So, that's a 12th round pick and a 10-teamer. 13th round pick, sorry. So, just wait on your quarterbacks. There's no reason to draft a guy early. It just really isn't. So I will go with the next one, Kev. My next one is after. Okay, so I know a lot of people went running back heavy this year. So my second takeaway.
You gotta be kidding me!
Yeah.
If you say this, dude, you got it. Go ahead.
So my second takeaway is that after the top, I would say 6 running backs, and I'll read their names, but after the top 6 guys, really after that you need to go wide receiver. Like I was in drafts where the top 12 guys, in the top, the first round, top 12, 10 of them were running backs. And guess what? Some of them didn't pan out. So,
They don't pan out. They get hurt.
They get hurt. Yep. They're just So we'll go through the list. All right. So Alvin Kamara is 1, Gurley 2. This is in PPR. We're a PPR podcast, guys. So Kamara 1, Gurley 2, Gordon 3, Saquon 4. Now Gordon, if you guys remember, was probably the 6th or 7th, maybe 8th running back off the board. He's the number 3 guy. Saquon was like consensus number 6. And he was number 4. James Conner wasn't even drafted in most leagues. He's the number 5 running back. We all know why, because Le'Veon. Ezekiel Elliott is 6. James White is number 7. T.J. Yeldon is number 8. Christian McCaffrey is 9. David Johnson is 10. Kareem Hunt is 11. And Isaiah Crowell is 12. So, Hunt is a low-end, RB1. Christian McCaffrey, another low-end RB1. But if you drafted James White, T.J. Yeldon, or, Isaiah Crowell to be your number 1 running back, yeah, you are a much better fantasy player than I am.
Listen, it's actually funny you say that, right? Because I'm going to get into my second takeaway while we talk about it, Steve, because mine is, going forward, you don't have to be afraid of going wide receiver to start your draft.
Yep.
That's kind of was my second takeaway. A lot of people, we always want to load up on running back because it's the most important position. And, You get a good one, you get a stable running back, but I mean, at this point, my best league is the league where I drafted DeAndre Hopkins and Odell Beckham as my top 2 players from the 11th spot in the draft.
Yep.
Because everybody else went running back. So before I drafted Odell in the 2nd round, the guy before me took Christian McCaffrey, who has been a solid first-round pick or a solid running back pick. But then Devontae Freeman, you took Devontae Freeman before Odell Beckham.
Oh yeah.
Right now you're killing yourself.
A lot of people took way before.
Yeah, and I just going forward, you look at guys like James White, Austin Eckler. We mentioned we're a PPR podcast. You get guys like that who are just catching 5-6 balls for 50 yards,
yep.
And then you ride out the Nyheim Hines.
Yep.
You go get those guys as your maybe your top 2 receiver, your third, second and third running back, and draft maybe all right. So you'll go. Let's say you went wide receiver this year. There's a chance you could have came back around and got Joe Mixon or Jordan Howard in that 3rd round. And if you did that right now and then got James White and Austin Eckler, are you really are you upset at yourself right now? No, not at all. You got Joe Mixon, who looks like he's about to tear the league up the way he looked the other day. You got James White, who's just putting up points ridiculously, and especially in the PPR league. And then you started your team off with Antonio Brown, Devontae Adams, or Antonio Brown, Michael Thomas.
Yeah.
If you started your team that way and then came back around and got Mixon and eventually got Eckler and James White, you're in a really good spot right now.
Yep,
so,
Sony Michel.
Sony Michel. Yep. If that just goes to show, going forward, don't be afraid to start your team at wide receiver. It could definitely pan out because running backs in the NFL just don't last.
Yep, it's true, 100%. All right, Kev. So you want to go with your last takeaway, and then I'll do mine.
My last takeaway is just simply related to one team. Me and Steve were kind of joking about it before we came on the podcast, but I remember how we used to say, you can't trust the Patriots running backs. You can't trust Patriots running backs. Mm-hmm. Now you got 2 Patriots running backs that are just putting up points ridiculously. One thing I hate the team, but they really do evolve.
Yeah.
And they just really go I think that their model or the way they do things is just to go against what everybody's saying about them. We're going to prove that we can do what everybody tells us we can't do. So, nobody, the running backs, the running backs ain't good. The running backs turn around and wind up being the best, most talented on their team. Mm-hmm. Especially, considering they didn't have Edelman, Gronk's been very subpar. They just got Josh Gordon, and he may not even play again with a hamstring. So, it's really funny to watch that team evolve. This is more, I guess, an NFL note, but it does relate to fantasy because Sony Michel and James White are both. You can used. You can literally use both running backs as well as Austin Eckler and Melvin Gordon and who were some other guys. Who were some other team up tandems you could use?
Yeah,
Kamara and Ingram right now.
Eckler
definitely.
and Melvin Gordon.
Yeah, at Kamara and Ingram you'll be able to use.
Yep.
It's just funny how offenses have now changed to put the ball in the running back's hands, any way they can and let their playmakers play. So. Yep,
Lindsey and Royce Freeman.
Yeah, that's another one.
Yeah, there's some good ones. And I agree. That's basically what it's turned into. So my last takeaway is I will never go into a draft again that in the 3rd or 4th round who do not take one of the top 3 or tight ends.
Yeah, that's a great one.
It's just so in PPR scoring right now, Gronk is number 7. But if you have the number 7 tight end right now, you're happy as shit. You're happy as shit because tight end is a shit show. So, and 1 and 2 is Ertz and Kelsey. So, those were the top 3. And guess what? I never have to think about who I'm gonna start at tight end. Like I never have to go. I have Jared Cook and I have George Kittle, who are the number 4 and 5 tight end. Who do I start this week? I don't want that headache. I don't.
No.
You know what I mean? And I don't want to be the guy who drafted OJ Howard, and now I have to freaking go to the waiver wire and pick up David Njoku to put in my lineup, or Vance McDonald, who got a 1.6 last week, or any of these guys. I don't want to have that headache. So from now on, for the rest of my fantasy life, and this is something I already do, so I'm just saying it for you guys. You know what I mean? Because in my big money leagues that I'm in, I have those guys. I have Zach Ertz. I have Kelsey. Like, this is something that I learned years and years ago, and I've just stuck to it. Like, you need to have a good tight end. Period. And guess what? You didn't draft Jared Cooks to be your number 1 tight end. You didn't draft guys like what's his name, Austin Hooper, who's the number 9, or OJ
Zuma.
Howard or Zuma. Any of these. You didn't draft any of these guys to be your number 1. And guess what? They're top 12 guys. So at this point, if you don't have a good one, that's on you. And if you continue to not draft a good tight end, that's on you.
Dude, this is why, we talked about this a little yesterday on the podcast, and this is why I would have did the Juju for Travis Kelce trade. I love, because if you have the depth at wide receiver, man, you're going to get one of the top tight end actually right now, and it's just literally. I have Gronk in one league. I have Kelsey in one league.
Yep.
The other league that I'm in our league, we don't use a tight end, Steve. The Dynasty League I'm in with you, I think I have George Kittle right now because Delaney Walker got hurt, and I have OJ Howard hurt. And, it's just –
yeah.
The other league that I'm in is actually my best – it's actually the same league that I was talking about with the Odell Beckham the other league where I went 2 wide receivers. I have Beckham and Hopkins.
Yep.
I don't have a tight end in that league, and I'm constantly looking for one. Yep. I'm literally rolling out Cameron Brate for the next 2 or 3 weeks. Hopefully, it's 4 weeks. I'm hoping OJ Howard stays hurt for the rest of the season if he can. But, seriously, I totally agree with that philosophy. Going into drafts, you got to get one of the top 3 tight ends because you'll just be searching week in, week out, for somebody who can produce.
Exactly. And I just, for me, I just don't want that headache. To me, that's like
that's totally different than quarterback.
Exactly.
It's totally different headache than quarterback. Quarterback, you're basically looking at 2 and saying who's going to have the better year and who's going to have the better game each week. Yep. So when you're doing the draft, it's like, who do I think is going to have a better year of, Stafford or Jared Goff? Yep. All right, I'm going to go with Jared Goff. This year, obviously, it was Jared Goff so far. Yep. Now you're just game by game looking Jared Goff. All right, well, Jared Goff's going – well, this year actually been able to start Jared Goff every week. He's been a beast.
Yeah.
But, let's say you drafted Matt Stafford and who's another middle guy that you could have drafted.
I'm trying to think. I was going to say Garoppolo, but he's hurt, so you can't really use Garoppolo. Let's say
Andy Dalton. Let's say you got
Dalton.
Stafford and Dalton. Okay, you're basically just going back and forth right there of who's got the better matchup, who's playing the worst defense, and just throwing that guy out there, and whatever he winds up with,
Exactly. Cam Newton's a good one. Cam Newton was a top, quarterback, and he's good one game, shit the other. Good one game, shit the other. So you know what I mean? You're streaming Cam Newton. You're not starting Cam Newton every week. You know what I mean? And that's, to me,
Russell Wilson.
Russell Wilson. Exactly.
The same way.
Yeah.
And Russell Wilson was the 3rd quarterback drafted.
Exactly.
And now we're talking about streaming him. So this is why, if you don't use one of those early picks on quarterback, you use that early pick on a tight end.
Yep.
So you can solidify that spot. And you worry about your quarterback later because quarterbacks are always going to put up numbers and tight ends are not.
Yep, I am in 8 leagues, and of those 8 leagues, I am in, let's say, two of them where I didn't get a top three tight end. It's the Dynasty League, and it's because I took Henry, because I think he's an up-and-coming tight end. I think he's going to be good.
Yeah, Hunter Henry's going to be a beast.
Exactly. Yeah. So I took Henry, and I took him relatively early because I knew somebody was going to try to snake him. So, I took him. And then in the other league, I took Evan Ingram, and he's just been shit. Because he got hurt.
He got hurt. Yeah.
Yep, he got hurt, and I was lucky enough, thank God, to get Jared Cook. But, in every other league, I either have Ertz, Gronk, or Kelsey.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, and people were looking at me sideways when I went in the third round and took, I was in a league actually where it's a 14-teamer at my job, and, the guy takes, one guy took Gronk. This is their third round, mind you. Third round was Gronk, then Kelsey, and then I was the very next pick, Ertz. It literally was Gronk, Kelsey, Ertz. Boom, boom, boom. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
can't argue with it.
Yep. And people were like, "Oh, 3 tight ends in a row." But guess what? Those 3 teams, I'm 4-1. The other guy that has Gronk, I believe, is 3-2, and the guy who has Ertz is also 4-1 with me. So,
tight end, having the good tight end equals success in fantasy football.
Exactly. I mean, it's so nice not having to think about what the hell I'm going to do with my tight end position. I just don't even have to worry about it. I just don't even think about it. I never think about it, and it's nice. It helps me with all the other decisions.
Yep.
But all right, guys, enjoy Thursday night football. Good luck to your Eagles, Kev. I hope they smash the Giants because I hate the Giants. And and for all of our fans that love the Giants, I'm sorry, but we're from Jersey. So it is what it is.
South Jersey. South Jersey, because North Jersey's more Giant land. So
exactly.
Yeah, we're South Jersey.
We're South Jersey. So, there's no way I'm rooting for the Giants. But good luck to the Eagles tonight. Go Eagles. Eagles, Eagles. Let's go, baby. And have a good night, everybody. Peace out.
Take it easy, everyone.